Hey everybody, Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a Stampin' Show and Tell for you today. As I promised, here is the second card for this week. As you remember, this is the card I did last where we die cut the flower from our Designer Series paper, and this is the piece of Designer Series paper that we used to get that flower. So now I'm going to use it up on this card. So let's go ahead and get started with the next card from our Good Morning Magnolia series of cards. Okay, so here is the card kit. Alright, there's kind of a lot of pieces, but it all goes together very smoothly. So this piece of Mossy Meadow, we're going to stamp ourselves with Mossy Meadow on Mossy Meadow, 3 leaves. Okay, and then when we get our big shot out to die cut, we'll die cut those with the dies from the set. Set those aside. We are going to die cut the flower for our project. First we're going to die cut the outline, which becomes the background, and then we're going to die cut this intricate flower with this one out of Petal Pink. Okay, and then we're going to use our blends and our fine tip glue to make that look like a glossy glassed flower. So we'll do that after we get those cut out. Now, like I said, we have this piece of scrap DSP, right? So one thing I like to do with my Designer Series paper is I like to use it without scrapping most of it. So I have 2 pieces here. Actually, that one's a little bit long. I'm going to have to trim that. So I think that needs to be at 3 3/4. Let me just double check. Yep, 3 3/4. So let me trim this one real quick so it doesn't look odd on our card. There we go. So 3 3/4 is the width of our DSP. So I'm going to marry up these 2 different samples. So I've got this one for the top and I've got this one for the bottom. Okay, and then we're going to marry those together with just a piece of our black satin ribbon. So that's all going to tie in very nicely. But then I decided, obviously I need to cover up the hole, right? So I'm going to steal from our Petal Pink layer a stitched square frame before we do all that work. So I'm going to set this aside, and this is going to come out of here, which we're then going to cover, so you're not going to know that you've stolen it. And then that'll all go up together on our Mossy Meadow card. So let me go ahead and bring in the die cutting machine and we'll get started with these cuts. Okay, so first things first, when I used my stitched framelits, I like to use my precision plate. So I'm going to slide my precision plate on there. I'm going to put my Petal Pink up here on my base. I'm going to put my square down. Now this is the largest square from the series of the stitched shaped framelits that are the squares. So I'm just going to run that through. Sometimes I run it through a second time. Those stitchings just tend to stick a little bit, I've noticed. Not too bad and not all the time, but once in a while. So that popped out nice and easy. Okay, so there's a layer for our card. That piece is done. Now we're going to do the flower. So, because this one has lots of pieces, I'm going to go ahead and do it on that same thing. I'm going to put that one there, and then, let's see, I want to do these all at the same time. Why not? So there's that. So this dies come with 2 of these leaves, so you just have to take your time and kind of get it around your image. Best fit. Now these are very tight, the way the new ones are designed. So definitely take your time. Now I'm going to put my cutting sheet on top, and I'm just going to run that through. And so you're going to see we've got the cutout for our flower. We're going to have this intricate one, right? Isn't that pretty just the way it is? But we're going to pop all those pieces out. And then we have 1 leaf, 2 leaves, and we just need to die cut 1 more leaf. So we can have 3 for the bottom of our flower. I like things in odds, so I went with 3 leaves. Okay, so let's put this on top and get our last leaf, and then we can put our card together easy peasy. So this one has lots of layers and texture, and the stamping and the die cutting are actually pretty simple. Okay, so here's the card we're building, and here are all the pieces we're going to use. So let's get started. Let's build up our card front to start. So on my petal pink, I'm going to attach the Designer Series paper, just with snail. So I'm just going to center that on my petal pink layer, and then I'm going to take some adhesive and do the same thing and marry up the spacing with the petal pink stripes on the bottom. Then I just flip it over, add some snail to the back, and I just wrap my ribbon around the seam there. Okay, then I did pop all of that up on dimensionals to give the card a little bit of structure. So put one in the middle, or 2 maybe, just for a little bit of support. I can peel all those off. Now from the back, it looks like a mess, right? We got a hole in the petal pink, we got a hole in our Designer Series paper. But when we're all done, you're not going to see any of that, and it's going to look fabulous. So we'll fold and score our card base, and we're just going to put that right on top. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to take my square that we cut with our stitched frame, and I'm just going to stamp thanks on there. And then this is going to go right onto our card with dimensionals as well. And I'm going to position that right over the die cut that we stole from it for the previous card. So I'm just going to put that right there. Alright, so far so good. Now I've got my white flower for my background, I've got my 3 little leaves, and then I've got my petal pink flower here. So I can pop all of these cut bits out, and then let me watch while I put this flower together. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see me working. Do my best to keep it on camera for you. Okay, so I'm going to sit. So here's what I did. This petal pink piece fits on top of the Whisper White and just gives it that edging. But I didn't really want it white, but I didn't want it petal pink on petal pink. So here's what I did. I took my petal pink blend, and I just painted my Whisper White card die cut here with my marker. So it coordinates, it's the same color, but it's lighter than the cardstock, right? Okay, so now I've got a painted piece of cardstock with my blend. And it doesn't really matter if you have darker or lighter spots on it because it's the background piece. Alright, so there's that. Now I'm going to take my fine tip glue. Oops, just the top off, right? Okay, sometimes it gets stuck. So here's my fine tip glue. And so I would tell you to put it just little drops, or a drop and then drag it, right? And it doesn't have to be everywhere. So as much or as little as you feel comfortable putting on the die to get it down. Remember to leave some place for your finger to be able to flip it over though. Alright, so there's that. So I'm just going to come grab this down here, and I'm just going to put this right down on top. Press that. Sometimes you have to hold it just for a second or two, just so that the papers adhere. And then that could go right on our card, right? And we put our leaves up underneath without any worry. So let me put those leaves on with some glue dots. So 1, 2, 3. So this isn't down yet, so I can do 1, 2, and put a third one on there, however which way you want it to go, just to kind of create a base for where this flower is going to set. Okay. The third one kind of got lost, so let me bring that one down a little bit. Gently pull and reposition. Okay, don't tug hard. And then that can go right on top. So that's nice and soft. So you could do it just like that. But here's what I did instead. I went ahead and adhered my flower to my card. And then this is something that I've seen done a few times. I've only done it a couple times myself. But the fine tip glue, when it gets put on, let me zoom back out so you can see both cards. Fine tip glue, when you put it on the surface of cardstock and let it sit and dry, you kind of get a glassy, glossy finish to it. So that's what I'm going to do now. So you can leave the card just like this, but if you're interested and want to give it a try, just go ahead and drop a little bit of that adhesive into each section of flower. So you're kind of just creating a pool of it in die cut. And then you have to put it someplace careful so that it can dry. And then after it dries, you'll have a glossy flower instead. Which is kind of neat to be different. So the nice thing with the fine tip glue is that when it dries, it is dry, it's not tacky, and it's a little bit shiny. So that's nice. And with this fine tip, it's really easy to apply into small spaces or let it pool in places. And then depending on how thick you put that on, it might even look like an epoxy kind of flower. And if you wanted to get very creative, you could add, got a little bubble there, You could add ink to your fine tip glue and you could color it, dye it for your project. So that might be fun too. Alright, so there we go. That one's dry, that one's wet, so I'm not going to pick it up. But there's the card for today. So I hope you enjoyed. This is going to be one of the cards in my card class this month. If you're not stamping with me, you can certainly purchase the class by mail. All you need to do is buy your stamp sets and dies, and what you'll get in the mail is all of the product you need to complete the card. So the card stack, the designer series paper, the ribbon, and all the directions with the PDF tutorial. So there you go, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I hope you'll hop on over and visit me at the blog. All the product details are over there, along with the link to get the PDF if you just want this PDF. And you can also subscribe to get the newsletter so you don't miss out on any of the fun projects that I'm sharing over there on the blog. Alright, everybody, hope you enjoyed. Give this technique a new try, and I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.